is Margaret, and this is the Boboleros podcast, and it's episode 10. I'd love to welcome you here, and thank you for being along this journey. It's a knitting podcast, but so much more. I like to just throw in any drippings from the brain pan in the hopes that we can inspire conversation, new ideas, spark creativity, and just have a good old time together. So thank you so much for being here, and welcome to my music recording / YouTube studio. I don't know if I mentioned this, I think I did on a previous podcast, but I have been on YouTube making piano performance and teaching videos since 2010.
Hi, my name is Margaret Wasick, and I'm here to introduce to you today my new book called Ultimate Piano Playing. I think this book could help a lot of pianists who ever struggle with issues related to tendinitis, tension, fatigue, any sort of strain at the piano.
I have been blessed that a couple of years ago, actually during the pandemic, you have to figure out how to do Zoom lessons, and I decided as well, because some of my performance live opportunities were shut down, I decided to figure out the technology to build out a live stream studio. And so I have a couple of cameras around me, lights, and I have spent a lot of time in decorating and the set. And so the big joke in my family and friends that know me is, okay, Margaret's redecorating her set. It's sort of, if you've ever seen the Seinfeld episode where Kramer picks up the set from the Merv Griffin show and decides to put it in his living room.
Oh, Elaine Bennis! Well, this is quite a thrill. Yes, come.
That's me, totally. So I love to change out the set, and one thing that I've had pretty much a fixture are these trees, which are obviously not real because these kinds of trees don't grow in winter, nor do they grow in a basement, but I have them here to give it the effect that I resonate with, which is that music, classical music, nature are all intertwined. And so that is the meaning of that. I used to have these great green, celadon green curtains that are still in some of my other videos that I sewed, and I figured out how to do that with some great YouTube videos, and that was a crowning achievement for me as a sewist, because I really don't know how to sew garments, but curtains I have attempted to various degrees of success, but that one I decided to follow to a T, really go all out in making the French pleats and stuff. So I will try to insert a video. Another obvious feature of this studio is a beautiful Steinway Centennial piano. I'm so fortunate to be able to play on this piano. It is a time machine. It is from 1887, and I'm going to play some excerpts a little bit during the podcast on it. It is, that time of history in the late 1800s. It's just on the cusp of the Industrial Revolution, and you still have so much of the handmade artisan craft going into everything. When Steinway made their Centennial pianos, it was a special line of pianos they made to celebrate the 100-year anniversary of America's birth. And these are, I think there are only about 40 left in the world that are in good performing condition. And I am so lucky to work with Mark Wiener, who is a piano technician and curator of a large collection of antique instruments. And so due to his benevolence and kindness, is that the right word, benevolence? Like, that's a nice word, right? Okay, I always confuse it with malevolence. Okay, so I mean, he's a good guy. That's what I mean to say. And so he helps me out. All right, so welcome to the Grand Manor Studio. And it's a grand day. It's been a grand week, and I hope you have had just some wonderful, incredible, magical experiences. And one thing that I'd like to start off with is a huge, huge thanks we've reached a milestone of 500 subscribers. Yay. Boboleros started as just a dream I had overnight right after Rhinebeck. I just was so hyper. I knew I had to do something in the knitting and creative space, which I've been involved in for over 20 years, but I wasn't doing this. And so I just felt the urge to plunge in with my daughter. And so my daughter's back in school. She's studying hard. She loves knitting. She loves being with you guys, and she loved meeting you in Vogue Knitting Live last week. But in any case, Mom is going at it solo again this week. And so we have 500 subscribers. And so that means, well, it's a time to reflect on just gratitude, thanking you for this community that is starting to grow, which is so joyous. I love meeting you all. I love sharing ideas with you. I love the response and the generation of inspiration we get from one another. And it's truly what keeps us going, I think. If there is one pure place of joy, it's in the creating, right? It's in the creating. And with that, and in celebration of this 500 subscriber milestone, I would like to share a book and also give a book to you all. I wish I could give one to everybody like this, but in any case, it's a wonderful new book. It's called The Creative Act, A Way of Being. Jackie Rose of Caddy Jack's Knit had posted this and told me that it's an amazing book. And so I did get it, of course. One has to get it. If there's some people, when they say something is good, you take their word on it. Jackie's one of them. And I'd just like to share, in the spirit of we are all creators, we are all in this together, wonderful few paragraphs from the first chapter. And it's entitled, Everyone is a Creator. Creativity is not a rare ability. It is not difficult to access. Creativity is a fundamental aspect of being human. It's our birthright, and it's for us all. Creativity doesn't exclusively relate to making art. We all engage in this act on a daily basis. To create is to bring something into existence that wasn't there before. It could be a conversation, the solution to a problem, a note to a friend, the rearrangement of furniture in a room, a new route home to avoid a traffic jam. What you make doesn't have to be witnessed, recorded, sold, or encased in a glass for it to be a work of art. Through the ordinary state of being, we're already creators in the most profound way, creating our experience of reality and composing the world we perceive. I think this is so valid. So many times as a pianist, if I talk to people after a performance, many times they say, oh, I wish I could do something like that. And my response is, you are a creative being. So we all have an opportunity, as this book says, to engage in the creative act. And I have to say, now that I'm getting older, and I'm in my early 50s now, I feel like I'm creating more than ever before. And in a way that is more bold, and in a way that is more confident. And I guess that's one of the perks of getting older, is where you just don't care, right? And I think, at least personally speaking, when I was younger, I was very concerned. What will people think if I do this or that, if I say this? And I've always been kind of going along my own course in life. I tended to not go the conventional route in almost anything I've done. And so that really caused a kind of, I would say, contrast of thinking, where I would be going my own way and doing my own thing, and then being like, well, is this acceptable? Is this valid? Will I get validated for it? And now I love what this book says. It doesn't need to be bought or sold or even witnessed by other people for it to be a work of art. So just some words to share with you and encourage you in the act of creating. And also, I just want to give a shout out to some new knitters out there. And I like to highlight my friend Mikiko, who I've known since high school, and she's taken up knitting for only a couple months, and she just finished a color work hat. How incredible is that? And the act of creating could help us in those in-between times, especially as she was sharing, her oldest is going to college, and I found that time so, it hit me like a ton of bricks becoming an empty nester. I wasn't expecting that. I thought it would just be a smooth emotional transition for me, but it tore me apart. It was, as Jordan Peterson, I've been listening to his Exodus series, and he says for mothers to let their children go into the world is a form of crucifixion. And I know that seems like extreme to say, but I found that so interesting, and I related to that because I felt like part of me had gone. And creativity, if it wasn't for the act of creating, I don't know how I would have bridged that gap. And so Mikiko and I were talking about knitting as a way to fill in those gaps where those transition times are so hard. So anyway, The Creative Act, A Way of Being by Rick Rubin. This book is going to go to giveaway winner. This is the giveaway. And in order to receive this book, I will randomly choose from the comments. And thank you all for your comments from last week. I loved reading each and every one and interacting. And so answer this question for me. In the creative way, he talks about those simple things in life to treat them as an act of creativity. Like he was saying, taking a new route home to avoid a traffic jam is a creative act. Writing a note to a friend could be thought of as a creative act instead of just another chore we have to do. Sometimes I try to keep that in mind when I'm doing chores around the house. Like, how can I elevate this into an act of creativity and give some love into it? And so I'd like to hear, what activity can you think of that you'd like to add more of that creative spark into, more of that joy of creating? For me, this week, I really appreciated spending the day with a dear friend of mine that you probably know from the Caddy Jacks podcast, Jackie Rose. And there's so much to say about that day. And I'm still processing it because it was so much to process in the most delightful and splendid and joyous and expansive way. But one of the things that I thought, wow, I have to bring that intentionality and creativity to was the sheer act of enjoying food. She and I had these decadent desserts at the Cafe Sabarsky in New York. One of my favorite places I've been to a number of times. It's an Austrian cafe, and they have dinner, and I think the cafe as well as the museum that it's in, which is called the Neue Gallery on 86th Street, East Side, right next to the Met Museum, is a must see. And it has the famous Gustav Klimt painting, The Woman in Red. Oh no, The Woman in Gold. Woman in Red is someone else. Or something else. The Woman in Gold. And so just ordering different, like the act of preparation to think, what are we going to order? There's so many to choose from like classic like apple strudels to torts to this and that. And just the act of, okay, what are we going to choose? And can we choose just one? Well, the answer to that was no, we couldn't choose just one. We ended up going at 3. We were considering 4. And then going back for another round after seeing the museum. So that's how that, but the sheer act of preparation for something extraordinary, the sheer act of expectancy, the sheer act of beholding when the dessert came. And I'll try to insert a couple of the dessert pictures here. It just opened up another avenue. It like awakened something in me that I let go dormant, which is my appreciation of food on that level. And it adds so much more. It tastes better. You're aware of things. And that's, of course, mindfulness. So much to say, but I'll leave it at that. Okay, let's go into the knitting. And I appreciate all those that stay on for all these ramblings. And so here we go. Elephant in the room is this shrug. Okay, and I spoke about it last week. It is the Sunday Shrug, again, designed by Jackie Rose. And it's a free pattern on Ravelry, and it is phenomenal. And as you might recall, last week I saw Jackie and Debbie Korb wearing their Sunday Shrugs, and I thought, this is another level. It's another level. I am such a fan of thick, bulky, quick knits. And we talked last week how they just make a statement. And I just loved the way that theirs just created this, I would say, almost regal structure around them. And I thought that just is so attractive to offset the shoulders and the posture. I just love that look. And I've, a long time ago, my knitting mentor, Susan Haynes, made a shrug that had that structure to it. And I mean, it just was jaw-droppingly gorgeous. And I had that image in my head. So when I saw the Sunday Shrug, I said, that just has to happen. And so it did. I furiously jumped into the Sunday Shrug pool. Now, so the timeline was I came back from Vogue Knitting Live on Saturday and just like can't wait for the Sunday Shrug pattern to be released the next day. I can't wait for the yarn to go up on sale on Lamb & Kid. And it was a dye to order event. And I couldn't decide which colors to get. I just could not decide. And I just love Jackie's so much, and I love Debbie's so much after seeing them both. And I thought about my wardrobe, and my love of green is huge, and Jackie's is, one of hers is green, and I thought, okay, that has to happen. But at the end of the day, I said, let me go more towards something neutral, because it's something I really don't have in my wardrobe. I waited for the dye to order event. It happened at 1 o'clock. I set my timer. I was at the computer. And yeah, I bit the bullet and I got the 3 dog night kit. And it takes about 2 weeks or something between the time you order and for the yarn to be dyed and sent, and then you receive it. So I'm so impulsive. I could not wait. And so I hit the dye pots. And I had been really fascinated by something, and it's something I mentioned last week, which was my watch. And again, the story was I teach piano students. I have a clock. It's just a cheap old clock that I got, I think, at one of those big box stores. I can't even remember. I don't know. What was it? Doesn't even matter what it was, Target or something. Anyway, but it stopped working. And so I thought, this is weird. Time is truly standing still, and I don't want to always look at my phone. In any case, I remembered I had a watch that my husband got me years ago in Germany, and it's made by a company called Nomos, and it has this really cool yellow dial and this olive green band. And this is another thing about mindfulness. It's funny, I always loved it and I didn't know why. And suddenly I started to really appreciate the 2 colors together. And it was resonating on a different level with me now. I thought, there's something about this electric yellow and this very earthy color to the band that just drove me crazy. Just drove me crazy. I said, this has to be somehow parlayed into yarn. So let me show you. All right. So I have it on. And so I only have, from what I dyed for this, left. So it's this electric yellow, obviously, fluorescent yellow. And I dyed up in, again, 2 bases, which one of them is this, what I call Vivian brushed mohair with bulky weight, 1 strand. And I dyed both up in this kind of swampy green. I'm going to get closer to the camera so you can see it. In this swampy green. And this is the yellow. And the halo created by this fluorescence, it just was a project that I could not put down. So in a nutshell, I couldn't wait to cast on, and I didn't want to go through the extra work of doing the tubular cast on, which is Jackie's recommended way of casting on. So I just went in with my regular old cast on and then just knit away. From what I was using, which was this 2 strands, which I call Formula 1, I figured that for the 4 inches required for each stripe, it took me about 12 rows. So 12 rows and then another 12 for each. And altogether, they're 5 rows. And I was very intentional in thinking that I wanted the more earthy color to begin and end the piece. And the quest didn't end there. The fascination with the earthy combined with the electric started to get my gears rolling in all sorts of directions. And I thought about Beethoven and his music and how it really does also straddle these extremes. And this is a study in extreme. From the most swampy of earth color to the most obnoxious, electric, in your face kind of color, I thought, ooh, there is something in this duality. And that's the secret, I believe. One of the secrets that makes Beethoven's music so timeless, so exciting, is because he explores that duality. Let me show you. I am going to play the opening of one of his famous pieces called the Appassionata. Appassionata Sonata, Opus 57, means the passionate. And it's a very, let's just say, abstract piece. It starts like this, in this almost, I would say, desperation. Very simple. Just an F minor chord, plummeting to the depths of pain. Rising. And then it has something pretty odd. This trill. A trill is kind of like where two notes brush against one another really quickly. I said, when I was learning that piece years ago, I said, what is that trill doing there? I was about 19, and I thought, what is that about? It's so abstract. And then in this light, I think about this as the earthy, swampy green. Very grounded. And then this, the electric. Coming out from nowhere, adding that sizzle. And then suddenly we have a repetition, but instead of this, elevation too. It's like sends shivers down one's spine. It repeats the whole thing. And then here's that electric again. And then more shimmer. And then, oof, he gives us. That's Beethoven's knocking, fate knocking on the door. That's the whole symbolic meaning of. That's like the opening of the Fifth Symphony. Fate knocking on the door. So, duality. Extreme contrast, the push and pull, sun and moon, light and dark, hot and cold. It reminded me of a poem by William Blake called The Marriage of Heaven and Hell. And I'll just read a little excerpt. The best wine is the oldest. The best water is the newest. Prayers plow not, praises reap not. Joys laugh not, sorrows weep not. The head sublime, the heart pathos, the genitals beauty, the hands and feet proportion. As air to a bird, or the sea to a fish, so is contempt to the contemptible. The crow wished everything was black, the owl that everything was white. Exuberance is beauty. If the lion was advised by the fox, he would be cunning. Improvement makes straight roads, but the crooked roads without improvement are roads of genius. Sooner murder an infant in its cradle than nurse unacted desires. Where man is not, nature is barren. Truth can never be told so as to be understood and not believed enough or too much. This line I had to reread a couple of times because it kind of was so jarring. Sooner murder an infant in its cradle than nurse unacted desires. And I thought, is he really talking about what he says? And it reminded me of when in film, I was once taking this class in cinematography, and they say, kill your babies when you edit. Those things that you love so much, probably I should kill some babies and edit this footage because I keep going on and on. So you could let me know. You could say, Margaret, yeah, kill the babies. But yeah, like the things that we're attached to, sometimes we have to actually get rid of for the benefit of the flow. But he says here, then nurse unacted desires. So it's better to try and fail and have that experience and take that chance than to not do it at all. So I was so happy to take a chance with making these colors and getting this whole language of color. I felt like I consumed it. Like it was like as if it was a delicious meal and I had to have it. Color is, again, I've said this once and I'm going to keep saying it because I think we need color and we need certain colors at certain times in our life. And it's almost like when you have a vitamin C deficiency and you need that orange juice, like you have to quench that desire. And it's because we need that vibration. We need that color vibration. These two colors vibe so well. So I decided to create a palette because I was, again, so drawn to this idea of earthy and then complemented by electric. So let me show you a couple of combos. Here is one that is really nice. I love this combo. This is a sand, almost desert camel. And this is in, so it's like got these variegated, beautiful shades. I am not able to show you nicely in this camera. I'll try to zoom in on this later. But I mean, it is really a gorgeous camel color, very earthy, and then pow, like this lime green. It's really punchy, but the two create this nice balance. Of course, I'm wearing this shrug, and I should probably take it off because now it's competing completely with the other colors. Okay, now we could kind of see how they play. See how they play. They play. Okay, so they're playing. Let's keep them playing. Okay, then I went in with this alabaster. This I decided is like the perfect neutral. It's meringue-like. It's got a touch, the slightest touch of blush, the slightest. You can't tell if it's in the green family or the cream bone family. It's a mysterious color. And so this one could be paired so many ways. One way is with this electric blue. Yeah, so of course now I'm looking at it, it reminds me so much of like what I'm going to be doing with the Three Dog Night. But I like this also, not only with the blue, but like the tan goes with the blue as well. You can mix and match so many of these colors. I love this, the lime green with that. And of course, you can also do that with like a hot pink fuchsia. And here's another like yellow. This is more a sunshine yellow, which is fun to pair together this way. And then Maia wanted a shrug. And I said, of course, my love, you should have a shrug. And for Maia, she wanted red and she wanted pink. So I said, I want the red to be heart red. Like not the kind of red you see at the Hallmark store, but like really the kind of heart that we have in our bodies. Like that kind of deep, deep red of, like marrow and blood. And I wanted that to be really earthy and really real, and then match that with like a very candy pink. So this is Maia's shrug that I dyed these colors for. So it's hard to see the variation on this in this lighting, but it's almost like the red has some browns to it. And the pink is also got quite a bit of different kind of shadings on it. This time around, I decided I would do the real tubular cast on. And it was a bit of work, but I think worth it, because when I saw the finish, I said, yes, this is worth it. But then I ran into trouble. And on my cast off, I did it, but for some reason, it's not stretchy enough. And I don't know what I did. If any of you have any suggestions as to how to make the cast off more stretchy in a tubular, please let me know. My guess is I probably tightened them too much as I did the Kitchener. I think I probably made them too tight at that point, but it's still wearable. You just have to be a little careful. Okay, so I'll try to put this on. But you can see this. This is a lot of fun. This is Maia's. Yeah, it's great. She's gonna love it. Can't wait to give it to her. And I love how knits, like I said, this will be so you always remember that you are loved and that you are love. So the red has that symbolism. And yeah, that knitting could do that, that we can create, that we can put all of our love and intention into the knit. And I so love knitting these. I'm already casting on for this one. This is my new combo. And I'm thinking of maybe even adding a third stripe, like a thin stripe of a pink. And I'm not sure, maybe it'll be this pink. I think this pink. Yeah, I think this pink will do. So that'll be the next on the list. So if you are interested in any of these colors and these kinds of pairings of the earthy mixed in with the, that does not look very good. Let's just put this down. Of the earthy mixed with electric, I will be having a shop update. And if you subscribe to our newsletter on boboleros.com, I'll let you know when it happens, and you'll be the first to know that. So, okay, so those are my 2 finished objects. I think that is a pretty big record for me in terms of finished objects. Highly recommend. The Sunday Shrug is just so much fun. So much fun. And that, you feel that pacing as you're doing those rows, and you can't wait for the next color change. And so it sort of does drive you to knit more and more. Okay, so this is my whip for today. And as you can tell, I have almost finished this sweater. And this is the Gumdrop sweater by Knit Collage. And in last week's episode, I told you about how we got this gorgeous boucle. Serendipity is the name of the base in Vogue Knitting Live. And it's such a happy, incredible yarn base. I just love how they're just it's such a joyous color palette. Each stitch has a different color. You've got like hot pinks, you have yellow, you have these blue pops, you have peach, neon. I mean, it is a party. It is a party here. I absolutely adore it. Big problem. I changed the pattern a little bit. And what I did was, and I will put all my modifications on Ravelry, but okay, I really love the way it looks. And this is what I was after. I wanted it to taper. I wanted to have a longer rib, but the same thing happened to me with the cast off. Again, I did a tubular cast off in the hopes that it would allow me that stretchy finish. And it's tight. And I don't know what to do, because I mean, it took a lot of manhandling just to get this on the mannequin. And yes, if I make myself into like Harry Houdini, like when he like cracked his shoulder to get into that vest and go underwater in the box, if I do that, I could get into this sweater. But do I want to do that all the time? Probably not. But do I want to rip back? in boucle? Absolutely not. I don't know what to do. If you have any advice on what should I do, should I try to rip back the boucle? I know this is going to stick, and I know it's going to be an atrocious battle to try to get this off. And because I've been down that rabbit hole before. Believe it or not, this is not the first time. And I should know better. Like, Margaret, when are you going to learn this lesson? Like, you can't decrease to such a point that you won't be able to put it over your head or shoulders, and I do this all the time. And I always think maybe it's, I'll find a stretchier, bind off. But I've tried so many. I've tried the Jennies. I've tried the, the tubular. I think I even tried Italian. And I don't know. I don't know. You see, like, this is what happens. Like, there's no real give. And it is a real issue. It's a real issue. Everything else I love. This bind off, I don't. What should I do? I could use any advice you can give me. Do you think, and then I always go back to my mantra, which is not the right mantra, but it's this. Oh, that's going to block out. No. You're not going to magically block out a tight bind off, Margaret. You shouldn't, come on. Anyway, help. My friends, help me find the stretchiest bind off. I need a stretchy go-to bind off. And I've also tried the one where you do a yarn over in between the stitches. So far that has been a successful one for me, but not 100% like that stretch that I do desire. So that is that. Okay, moving on. I have so much to share about my day in the city with Jackie. That was it's just one of those perfect days that, and if you follow our Instagrams, you might see some pictures. Again, I am still processing this whole thing. It was just so rich. And I will be sharing more about that. So just stay tuned to future podcasts. And it just was so wonderful. And I know that so many of you absolutely adore Caddy Jacks. And as I do, they have been one of my favorite podcasters since day one, since they first started. And that was years ago. And I have to say that there were podcasts along, those years that helped me get through. It's so funny, we formed these relationships through these podcasts, and it's so incredible and so wondrous and so beautiful. And so I will be sharing more about that day. But in the meantime, I like to share one good thing. So now we're going to enter the good things segment. Good things. Yeah, we need some theme music for that. Okay. A good thing. Okay, so this was something else I have to tell you. So while we were at the museum, we were admiring a lot of the Klimt paintings. And this was one of them. I'm going to try and insert a better picture. But okay, we got a bookmark. And she's beautiful. And so we were really discussing, the things that struck us about the painting and the deeper meanings behind the painting, the color choices in the painting, and so on and so forth. But then, of course, we started talking about the lips and the lipstick colors of some of these gorgeous women that Gustav Klimt painted, including Adele Bloch, which is the subject of The Lady in Gold. And so Adele Bloch was wearing these, her lips are this, perfect red orange. And we were admiring, just how perfect that color was. And we were both thinking, of course, let's try to find that color in a lipstick. Should we go to Sephora now? So it was too funny. We got our dose of the museum. She and I are both the same in the sense that We can only take a certain amount of this, energy of beauty and intensity of the art. It's so incredible. And the energy of that, one has to really process and absorb. And, there's only a certain amount you could see before you reach your threshold. And so we both reached it at the same time and decided to go to the gift store. I love a good gift store in the museum. I won't lie. It's one of my favorite parts. And so we're in the gift store and suddenly she goes, Margaret, you will not believe what I found. Okay. So she finds this and it is, I'm like, what is that? So it's the painting, one of the paintings, and the beautiful lips. And so the Neue Gallery is owned by the Lauder family, the same Lauder family that Estee Lauder and the makeup company. So the current CEO, Erin Lauder, brilliant woman that she is, she decided to create a lipstick collection based on the Klimt women. And yes, there is a color. There is a color. That red-orange color is in this collection. So, of course, we asked, can we just get the red-orange color? And they're like, no, it's sold in a 3 lipstick set. I think they're all beautiful, but the one that's really on the mind right now is the red-orange, which is this one. Okay, isn't that just amazing? Yeah. I mean, it's beyond perfect. I just love it. Anyway, there's something about a good orange, a good poppy orange shade on a lip, especially with spring coming. So this was such a fantastic find. So it was a big splurge for lipstick, I won't lie, but again, that color and that moment, it just was saying like, yes, okay. So I just want to share just like a good thing, which is so sweet. I met with Peg Burke, one of my new dear friends from the podcasting, and knitting world. And she gave me a gift bag, which was filled with just such precious things to me. And look at the tassel she put on the gift bag. I mean, can you even believe this? This is knit collage. She took knit collage extras that she had and she made it into the most beautiful tassel. I have since put it on my secretary desk, which I chalk painted green. And I will try to insert a picture here. And it is, it's such a good thing. It reminds me of her. It reminds me of the moment. And it reminds me how just these small acts, like even with these scraps that we all have from our knitting, could be turned into these wonderful adornments that we could treasure and use to decorate with, or to, use even, I could imagine a smaller little tassel be made into a bookmark, or, a little earring, or who knows, like you could just let your imagination run wild. And so lovely. So I treasure this. It is such a good thing. Such a good thing. So last but not least, okay. Did I mention last time that when we were at Knit Collage booth at Vogue Knitting Live that we saw beautiful Vanessa? She was wearing a knit collage sweater in this like dark orange that she knit, and she had these cool sequins. Is sequins the right word? Like metallic, and it was fantastic. And also Peg had a Sophie scarf that she made holding. It wasn't stellina, it was actually like little paillettes little metallic sparkle paillettes. And so when Vanessa was wearing this, of course, Maya and I asked, like, where did you get those fantastic sequins? And she said, okay, well, it's made by like an Etsy. You can find it on Etsy by looking up King Cole, I think. King Cole. Of course, I thought we could find it at Vogue Knitting Live. We couldn't. Then I thought, okay, let's hoof it to M&J Trimmings. Maybe they have it. And after making like that huge walk, it was a huge walk because we had the wrong shoes on. I had these clogs on and Maya had really uncomfortable Doc Marten kind of booties. So we were, yeah, that 12 block walk felt more like 50 miles. But in any case, they didn't have it. So I had to order. Okay, so I got the package and I want to share it with you. Okay, I am unboxing this at the same time. So, ooh, I ordered many colors because I figured if you're making the order, you might as well. So in this gorgeous fuchsia, I wonder if you could see these little paillettes. Wow, so much fun. We were thinking of maybe adding one string into here. I think I'm going to make another. I have enough yarn for probably another if it's short sleeve. So that one, here it is in this foam, sea foam green. Oh, look at this. This is in the white and pink. Okay, so it's white and then it has these sequins are hot pink. That one is gorgeous. Okay. This one is beautiful orange, copper. I think this is the one Vanessa had. Oh, it's so beautiful. Okay, so the company that makes it is www.guchet.com, and it's called Alyssa, 100% polyester and sequin, and there are 765 yards in this. So there's a lot to put in. Okay, a few more. Like a lime green. I think on my next version of the Shrug, the lime green one, I think I'm going to put this in with it. Why not? All right, this is a beautiful gray one. Nice to have that one too. Boy, when I ordered the colors, I wasn't kidding. I really went for it. Okay, and this is the last one. This is like a very light blush color. It's not reading exactly right, but it looks more white, but it is blush. It's fantastic. Alyssa. That's the name of it. And that's all she wrote. And so I am going to also, for our giveaway prize, I'm going to put in this Alyssa to go with the giveaway prize. So the Creative Act, a way of being, with lime green sequin thread to put in all your knits. Like, hello. So yes, so just if you would like to participate in that giveaway, just comment below. What is the one thing that you will be wanting to bring a new sense of mindfulness into, to make even the mundane things that we sometimes take for granted, like driving, like eating or cooking or household chores or whatever they may be, into a creative act, as the author of this book, Rick Rubin, was mentioning. So, okay, and also I just want to give a shout out to the maker of these earrings. I've had these earrings for a few years now, and I've worn these in a long time, and I thought, wow, I love the pairing with the shrug. And so these are made by Melissa Jenkins, and so thank you, Melissa. Your earrings, I just love them. They're so light, and they make such a wonderful fashion statement, and like all your things do, and I think you're great. All right, so that wraps it up for today's podcast. It was a doozy. Thank you so much for being here. Thank you so much for, listening to all the drippings from the brain pan. I'm going to try to insert a video here. The whole version of the Beethoven Appassionata is coming in a series that I'm doing on my regular YouTube channel, Non-Knitting, which is my name, Margaret Wasik. And it is part of a series that I am premiering live in a week from today. I got to get cracking on that. And it's called Magical Moments of Music with Margaret. And if you're local, it will be held at the Bedminster Public Library. And it's at 2:00 Sunday, February 26th. Okay. And so it's going to be going through the premise of the program, which will be, I think the idea is some shows that will be recorded for video and some pop-up live concerts. Basically, it's going to be a very unconventional foray into the world of classical music and how it transforms us from inside out. And it's going to be much more an emotional and philosophical and spiritual journey rather than your typical kind of like this is classical music appreciation class. We're just going to go in deep because why not? Life is short, right? Eat cake. All right. See you soon.